This week on Ebert and Roeper, a military expedition backfires around Josh Hartnett and Ewan McGregor in Black Hawk Down.
Also, Jack Black tries to get his brother in college in Orange County.
And reporter Richard Gere investigates the Mothman Prophecies.
Army Ranger Josh Hartnett leads his squadron into the heart of enemy territory in Black Hawk Down, one of 4 new movies we'll be reviewing this week. And also, it's Oscar time, so we'll be delivering our annual memo to the Academy. I'm Roger Ebert.
And I'm Richard Roeper. Black Hawk Down was directed by Ridley Scott, whose last 2 films were Gladiator and Hannibal, and he once again floods the screen with buckets of blood. But this time the grisly images are a product of some of the most realistic battle scenes ever filmed. Black Hawk Down is based on a 1993 debacle in which U.S. peacekeeping forces in Somalia planned what they thought would be a piece of cake raid on a brutal warlord's top henchman.
We have 2 things that we can do. We can either help, or we can sit back and watch country destroy itself on CNN. Right?
I don't know about you guys, but I was trained to fight.
Before we can really sort out all the typical war movie characters, they're plunged into a hellacious and extended battle.
Is going down. He's hit.
That's Sam Shepard as Major General William Garrison, who watches from headquarters as the raid turns into a complete disaster.
I want every vehicle possible that's got 4 wheels and armor. Get it. Get everything. And once they've assembled, we need to move our men out of the hostile area and back to the Pakistani stadium, the safe zone.
The ill-conceived and poorly executed mission quickly turned into a rescue and survival ordeal for the Americans, and that's when some true heroes emerged. Unfortunately, the story of Black Hawk Down suffers from the lack of character development prior to those riveting but sometimes confusing battle scenes. 18 American soldiers died and 73 were wounded in less than 1 day during that whole ordeal, and Scott seems to show us nearly every one of those casualties. Now, I am recommending Black Hawk Down because the action sequences are astonishing, but I do wish more time had been devoted to analyzing the folly of U.S. involvement and maybe establishing a few major characters.
Well, you know, I think it's a lot better than you do, and I don't think we need more establishment of characters. This is not one of those war movies where everybody sits around talking about they came from Kansas or they want to be a dentist in civil life or something like that. This is about the situation they're in, and I disagree with you that it's confusing. It's confusing to them, but it's not confusing to us because Ridley Scott has done such a good job of graphing this story out that we can understand what's going on.
Yeah, but Roger, they do a lot of the cliches at the beginning. When one guy wants to make a difference, the other guy's got the letter to his, wife at home, the other guy makes the call,
so you want
and all
more
that
of
stuff. Well, I would just like to know who these people are. So they do it, and I wish they would do it a little more, or with a little more originality. But also the extended battle sequence. When I say extended, I'm talking about 2 hours in a 2.5 hour movie, and it does go on for a long time. And you would like to care a little bit more. It goes on from day into night as the light and the heat fades out of the day and they get colder and lonelier. They didn't bring along the right clothes. They didn't bring along food. They didn't bring along... Well, they had no idea what they were doing, basically. That's what it seems like.
You get the real idea of this process.
Well, I also would have liked to see a little bit more of the backstory explaining what we thought we were doing there. This is a movie that starts off with a lot of those codas saying, here's what happened and here's what we got here. And if you have to do that much to establish
thought we were going to help
you're sacrificing.
We thought they were going to help them get food out, and the warlords had different ideas. Yeah. I think that's all you need.
Well, it is definitely worth seeing for those amazing battle sequences.
Okay, now on to the Mothman Prophecies, a new thriller starring Richard Gere and Laura Linney, and updated from allegedly true events that took place in West Virginia in 1966. Events that I would guess are easily as real, for example, as the Amityville horror. Gere plays a Washington Post reporter whose wife dies for no better reason than to set up the story, which leads him mysteriously to West Virginia, where a shadowy moth-like creature is at the center of strange happenings.
I swear to God, I see something, and then I hear this weird howl coming out of the sink.
That's Will Patton as a local man targeted by the visitation. Laura Linney is the local cop.
Can you see which way she went?
No.
What did she say?
She asked a lot of strange questions. What are you doing here? If you were happy.
What did you say?
I asked her for some ID.
In real life, as beloved by conspiracy theorists and alien visitation buffs, the Mothman allegedly made a dream prophecy about a power failure on a specific date. Well, there wasn't any power failure, but hey, a bridge collapsed. And that supplies the climax of the movie. I grow restless when movies claim to be based on true events. Why not just make up some fictional events that might be more interesting? Richard Gere and Laura Linney worked with director Mark Pellington to make a movie that looks like a thriller and sounds like a thriller and even quacks like a thriller, but it just doesn't add up to much of a thriller.
No, I think it's awful. First of all, you know, this Mothman, I never see the Mothman. We see the shadows of it, and I guess it makes prank phone calls a lot. So you pick up the phone in the middle of the night and you hear this kind of thing. But we never get any explanation for what this Mothman really is. And then does the Mothman just disappear for years and then come back? I didn't get any of that. And well, you have, I mean, the stuff at the beginning with Richard Gere and his wife, you just know she's doomed from the start. Because the way the thing is setting up. Yeah, they're happy. Yeah. They're on the verge of the most happy, wonderful time of their lives. So, of course, I'm like, well, she's dead.
You know, one of the great things about the Mothman is the way he can kind of leave his imprint on trees and things, kind of like Elvis appears on screen doors.
Or the Blair Witches do that kind of thing.
There are no rules for the Mothman. Is he a creature? Is he an hallucination? Is he a spirit? Is he from another planet?
Yeah.
Everybody seems to make up, for example, the fact that when Will Patton says he's seen Richard Gere for the third time, when Richard Gere has only knocked on his door once. What's that about?
We never get that again.
No, you never get back to that.
Yeah, they set up things that just get dropped completely, so it's really terrible. Okay, coming up later in the show, we tell Oscar voters, and I don't think we'll be talking about Oscars and Mothman prophecies, we'll tell them what not to overlook in our annual memo to the Academy. And coming up next, Lily Tomlin and Jack Black star in the screwball comedy Orange County.
Now in theaters, he's brought to you by Orville Redenbacher's Gourmet Popping Corn.
Just go to the front door. The mail would be in the mailbox.
You owe me one, buddy. Yeah, it's here.
A high school senior's dreams of attending Stanford are jeopardized by his seriously dysfunctional family in Orange County. This is a light and occasionally amusing teen comedy from Jake Kasdan, the son of director Lawrence Kasdan, starring Colin Hanks, son of Tom Hanks, and Skylar Fisk, daughter of Sissy Spacek. No word on whether the film shoot was catered by the heir to the Dunkin' Donuts empire. Hanks plays the earnest Sean, who abandons the surfer life in Orange County. He wants to be a writer.
9:40? No. I had a 15:20. No, it says 9:40. That's not my transcript. That's Shane Brainerd's transcript.
And you are?
Sean Brumder.
And that's Lily Tomlin as Sean's hopelessly incompetent guidance counselor. Jack Black plays Sean's stoner brother, who doesn't understand his brother's weird ambition to have a productive and sober life.
Hey, what are you doing?
Hey, cutie.
The young director and stars of Orange County come from a gene pool rich in filmmaking talent, and they've soaked up some of those skills. Hanks and Fisk are natural and attractive, and Kasdan is comfortable behind the camera. But the film is wildly uneven, careening between some realistic scenes with the young couple and far too many forays into the wacky and the grotesque. And I think we're long past the point where yet another script about a kid who wants to be a writer is either fresh or compelling.
Well, this movie has some nice ideas about the fact that he wants to be a writer and about the writer that he idolizes and wants to get to. And I also loved Jack Black as the completely out-of-control brother who, and I mean, there are people like this in some families. You know, please don't help me anymore, you know, because any more help from you and I'm going to just get my life completely destroyed. I kind of like that. I think Colin Hanks and Skylar Fisk are talented. I like this movie, I think, more than you did.
Well, you obviously liked it more than I did if you're giving it thumbs up. I am not, because there's too many of these gross-out scenes and the stuff, you know, Catherine O'Hara, who I like a lot, but her character, you know, the alcoholic mom is so over the top, and the stuff with her husband and the stuff with the John Lithgow character, it's the wrong note too many times.
John Lithgow was really funny.
Oh, no, that's a cartoon. That's all a cartoon.
Okay, it's a funny cartoon.
On top of this realistic stuff, and there was too much of the cartoon, and the stuff with Harold Ramis got a little ridiculous when he's, you know, on the drugs and everything. So some good ideas, but
I think you're overemphasizing the realistic side. I think it's all supposed to be kind of a comedy.
Well, it didn't make me laugh enough.
Okay, coming up next, your attention, please, Oscar voters. Yes, you. Our annual memo to the Academy when we come back.
I couldn't tell you that. It would spoil it for you.
Oh, but none of us will see it.
Hey, Nash, I thought you dropped out. You ever gonna go to class, or...?
Classes will dull your mind. Destroy the potential for authentic creativity.
A Beautiful Mind is likely to get a lot of Oscar nominations, and it will deserve them, but other worthy films are sure to be overlooked. The Motion Picture Academy mailed out its ballots January the 8th, and that means it's Oscar season once again, and time for our annual memo to the Academy. This is our helpful service where we remind voters exactly what films and performances we think deserve Oscar nominations. One film I believe deserves a Best Picture nomination is Ghost World, Terry Zweigoff's pitch-perfect portrait of two misfits who share a brief, doomed, kind of sweet relationship. Thora Birch is a lonely outcast 18-year-old who doesn't much like the world she lives in, and Steve Buscemi is a lonely outcast middle-aged man who collects old records.
Can't connect with other people, so you fill your life with stuff. Just like all the rest of these pathetic collector losers.
No, you're not. You're a cool guy, Seymour.
I'm so cool, how come I haven't had a girlfriend in like 4 years?
They seem like an unlikely couple, but for a moment, their minds meet. Another nominee I'd like to recommend, this one in the Best Actress category, is Julia Blake for her heartbreaking performance in Paul Cox's Innocence. If you haven't seen this, screen it before you mark your ballot. She stars with Charles Tingwell as a couple who were lovers at 18 and meet again after 50 years to discover that the passion is still there. This is great acting.
I don't know what to tell him.
It's better not to say anything. Who would understand?
I'm too old for lies.
It made me very happy.
Me too.
I love you. Almost loved you.
In the new animation category, the Academy will be thinking of Shrek and Monsters Incorporated. But they should also consider Waking Life. The movie's hero dreams he's involved in a series of conversations about the meaning of life. And what's amazing about the animation is that it looks great and was done on a very low budget with desktop Macintoshes. No longer is animation only for multi-million-dollar features.
Like the Big Bang set up the initial conditions, and the whole rest of our history, the whole rest of human history and even before, is really just sort of the playing out of subatomic particles according to these basic fundamental physical laws. We think we're special. We think we have some kind of special dignity, but that now comes under threat. I mean, that's really challenged by this picture.
And you know what? The Academy should nominate Robert Altman for Best Director. His Gosford Park is not only a wonderful film, but a virtuoso demonstration of effortless directorial mastery as he juggles some 30 speaking roles and makes it clear who everybody is, how they're related, and what they're up to.
Will Lady Sylvia be coming down soon?
I shouldn't think so. She has breakfast in her room. Then she usually goes for a ride.
Yes, but she won't be doing that this morning, will she?
And Robert Altman, like Martin Scorsese, has never won an Oscar for Best Director. The Academy should be ashamed of itself. Gosford Park is an original screenplay written by Julian Fellowes, his first to be produced. And in the hands of a lesser director than Altman, this screenplay could have turned into a confusing traffic jam.
Well, how can a world and an Academy that says it loves film not honor Robert Altman, who is just a beautiful, pure filmmaker?
Yes, he is.
Who takes on real challenges. He's just, I mean, every time he does something, Gosford Park is a wonderful film, and when he does a period piece, it's good. When he does a modern film, it's good. I like your choices. Good picks.
Well, thank you very much, and I hope you also have some brilliant insights of your own to share with the Academy.
I like to think I do. Memento was my favorite film of 2001, and it received a lot of acclaim for its brazen style. But Guy Pearce makes this story sing. He's the perpetually confused Leonard who lacks the capability to make new memories. Pearce has to shift acting gears dozens of times from scene to scene and within scene to scene, depending on which thoughts have temporarily been captured within his frame of reference.
I told my boss about your condition and stuff, and he said try and rent him another room.
So how many rooms am I checked into it?
Oh, just 2. So far.
Well, at least you're being honest about ripping me off.
Well, you're not going to remember anyway.
Another Australian actor who showed remarkable range in another mind-bending film, Naomi Watts in Mulholland Drive. In the first part of the film, she's the chipper, corn-fed Betty who comes to Hollywood with dreams of stardom. Later, Watts takes on the persona of Diane, who has been tossed into the sewer at the bottom of the Hollywood rainbow. But even in cheery Betty mode, Watts is capable of major surprises, as when she auditions with a man-tanned Chad Everett.
You're playing a dangerous game here. If you're trying to blackmail me, It's not gonna work.
Drew Barrymore's writing in Cars with Boys is hardly Oscar material, but Steve Zahn's performance was worthy of a nomination for Best Supporting Actor. At first, Zahn is charmingly irresponsible as Barrymore's young husband, but the charm erodes and finally disappears.
I may not be the perfect guy, but nobody will love you like me, Bev.
Leave me alone.
In the documentary category, any measure of popularity usually means you've doomed your chances for a nomination, but I hope that changes this year in favor of Startup.com. This is an instant time capsule of the .com craze at its giddiest and at its most heartbreaking.
In its terms, it has never been this messy, and it has never been this bad.
Our business is in serious trouble.
Just because a documentary is entertaining doesn't mean it isn't significant and award-worthy. I admit all of my candidates are long shots, but here's hoping some of the more enlightened and open-minded Academy members go beyond the mainstream favorites.
You know, I like all of your choices, but as you were talking about Steve Zahn, that performance really came back to me. And sometimes a picture that doesn't make it big at the box office flies under the radar of the voters, but they get cassettes or discs of all of these movies, and I hope that they look at that because he is good.
He's really good in that.
When we come back, a Canadian woman disguises herself to travel to Kandahar.
Visit our website, ebertandroeper.tv, presented by the Vista Series DVD collection.
Our next movie triumphed at Cannes last May and has now become more than timely. Kandahar tells the story of an Afghan woman who moved to Canada as a young girl 20 years ago and now tries to sneak back into her native country to help her sister, who plans to commit suicide after losing her legs to a landmine. The woman, named Nafas and played by Nilofar Pazira, wears a burqa to disguise herself and plans to pass as one of the wives of a traveling merchant.
Who could not always express what he wanted to say.
The woman's journey into the Afghanistan of the Taliban includes strange sights, none stranger than this, as artificial legs are airdropped to landmine victims. The movie follows her desert journey through a land crippled by poverty and locked in the past.
نفس دیروز دختر دخاله لورکیجم
Because Nafis speaks English into her tape recorder, Kandahar is only really minimally subtitled. It's a lot in English. It was shot on location near Afghanistan and includes many scenes that have a documentary quality, like a Taliban school where boys are beaten if they can't memorize sacred scriptures. They're lucky. Girls are not allowed to go to school in the first place. The movie is not so much about Afghanistan, which we hardly see, as about the journey of a modern woman back into a medieval world that denies her even the right to her own identity. Kandahar was directed by Mohsen Makhmalbaf, one of the best Iranian filmmakers.
Well, it doesn't matter what language is in. The film has so many riveting scenes. You spotlighted some of them. The drop of prosthetic legs to these landmine victims is so absurd and so grisly and so hellish, and it's so modern and real that I was just amazed by that, and so many other scenes in this film. I mean, you want to talk about going back in time 1,000 years, the way women and children are treated by this culture. It's just shocking stuff.
You know, the interesting thing about the idea for the screenplay is it's really just a clothesline upon which to hang these scenes of what life is like at this time over there. It's more about the effort to leave modern Canada and go to ancient Afghanistan.
The circumstances of this culture are wild enough that you don't have to have some big melodrama going on. We'll be right back.
Join Ebert and Roeper's second annual Film Festival at Sea. With sneak previews of the hottest new movies, everyone becomes a film critic. Roger and Richard sail to the Bahamas and Disney's Castaway Cay, February 28th through March 3rd, aboard the Disney Wonder. Ebert and Roeper's Film Festival at Sea. Call your travel agent or 1-800-945-3806.
Now let's recap the movies we reviewed on this week's show. 2 thumbs up for Black Hawk Down, 2 thumbs down for the Mothman Prophecies. It opens next week. We split on Orange County, and finally 2 thumbs up for Kandahar.
Remember, you can hear our reviews at ebertandroeper.tv and read us in print at suntimes.com. Next week, we'll be back with a special show highlighting 8 film actors on the edge of stardom. And until then, the balcony is closed.
You know, the thing about Black Hawk Down, I do want to stress the amazing battle sequences. I have no idea how they did that, how they have so many people choreographed, because I think, what if they had to redo it? How would they recut the thing?
I know, and that's why I don't understand why you want more of the conventional stuff.
Dieting? Scan Diet is proven to reduce weight, body fat, and cholesterol. Now in ready-to-drink shakes and bars. Only at GNC.
Facts of Life by Lysol. Fact. It's cough and cold season. Fact. Lysol spray helps stop the spread of the cold virus. Life demands Lysol. That's a fact.
We're bringing the great taste of Weiler's to light. Weiler's Light, now with vitamin C. Check it out.
Closed captioning for Ebert and Roeper is brought to you by...
They're your family. That's why you serve them all-natural Tyson chicken with no additives and minimal processing. Tyson, it's what your family deserves.